Okay, so we're here today at Love Business, and I'm asking people a few questions about their business and how they market it. So, you work in marketing. I'm assuming that you've got a decent handle. Well, I know you've got a decent handle on it because she's an expert.
Of course.
Tell us a little bit about passion marketing and what you specialize in.
Okay, so passion marketing, I've been running that for almost 12 years, almost 13 years maybe. Love it, absolutely love marketing. I work with small to medium-sized businesses, helping them to kind of grow, also help them sort of through the marketing maze. It's very overwhelming, particularly if you are a small business, haven't got a big team. So I help them kind of unpick where they want to go, look at the strategy, get them an action plan that is actually, they've got the resource to do. It's not going to be overwhelming. And then I hold the hands. So I do accountability calls, do coaching and mentoring. And I also do training and webinars as well. Just give people light bulb moments for their marketing.
Tell me a little bit about the champagne marketing on a lemonade budget. Have I got that the right way?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. It's a great title.
I kind of become famous for this now. So people kind of know me for the champagne marketing workshop and webinars that I do. So it's about kind of like, what can you do on a budget? So what can you do? You've got a lemonade budget. It's kind of like the story of my life. This is how I live my life. I have a lemonade budget when I want a champagne lifestyle. So what I try to encourage people to do is think really creatively, really think about the target audience. So think about getting in the heads of their target clients. It's not just anyone with a pulse in a credit card will do. It's who do you really, really want to work with? And then do some really targeted, creative marketing campaigns that will really kind of resonate with your audience.
And because that's become quite well known, how have you been able to leverage the title and what you're known as to win business? Because you're doing it in lots of different places, so they must have seen it or heard about it somewhere.
Yeah. So I think people do sort of, even people I haven't met before for the first time, they kind of say, oh, you're that lady that does champagne marketing and you wear bright suits and da-da-da. So I suppose it's become part of my personal brand, really. Okay. So I've only sort of recently started to realize, actually, I do need to leverage that. So I do talk a lot about the kind of champagne marketing. I run webinars on it. I do speaker slots on it. And I think people just get it because it's like, yeah, I need that because I haven't got loads of money, I haven't got loads of time. What can I do better with my marketing? So I kind of just do anywhere that I can go and talk about it or put it on social media. I try to do that because that's kind of like something that people associate with me.
So what's really interesting about that is you've got your central theme of what you're known for. And as you've said, you've kind of honed in on that tighter and tighter and tighter to the point where, you're wearing the bright suits and you're known for the look as well as everything else. And it's interesting having a central theme because I think that's quite helpful for any business that's thinking about, well, what do I actually talk about? How do you get people to understand what their central theme is?
I suppose it's asking lots of questions and asking them more about their business, what they're really good at, what they're passionate about. Because when you're really good at something, really passionate about it, it's natural. You're not having to work hard at it. So shout about that thing. Try and pick that one thing that you're really good at and talk about that. So if people kind of then understand that, they get to know you and then they see that you do all these other things as well.
And what are you using to direct people to the other things that you do as well? Is that a website? Is it social? What is it?
It's mostly social, I think. I'm working on a website at the moment. It does need work and you're always working on it you're always kind of organically expanding. But I think it's the social, but it's also the in-person networking and talking to people and just building relationships. I think that's mostly where my referrals would come from, really.
And since you mentioned, how you dress and how you look, you're here today in what I would say is the signature look. Do you find that people spot you easily because of that?
Yeah.
Because I would say that because I was talking to somebody else and I saw a bright red suit and I didn't lose eye contact with someone.
It was me. And it's usually bright pink, which is the colours of my business branding is bright pink.
Is it red because of Love Business?
It's because of business, you've got to go on brand. I sometimes do it without even thinking about it. And I even did it on holiday. I was sat in an Indian restaurant in an orange dress with a cream cardigan. which is an outfit I'd never worn before. I didn't know at the Indian restaurant because it was some, you know, it was in Lanzarote.
Did they say
I shot her. They did. But the waiter came over and said, "Oh, you're very matching." And I looked around and I even had a photograph taken of me in this restaurant. I completely matched the environment, you know, as in this orange and cream. The menu was orange and cream. The background was orange and cream. Who knew? I mean, you know, it wasn't intentional. Yes, yeah, so I've signed them out. I'm like a big deal now in Lanzarote.
I mean, there's worse places to be a big deal in.
Even yesterday, just a very short story. So I went to an event yesterday, and as I walked up, and I was wearing a bright jacket, but just sort of jeans and slightly more casual. And I went to say, "Oh, I'm Lindsey Newman-Wood. I'm here for the first time." And they were like, "But we've met before." So the two girls on the reception said, "Well, we've met before." And I said, "No, we haven't." "No, you're not a first-time visitor. This is your second time." I said, "No, definitely my first time." "Well, how do we know you? We've met you before." They'd probably seen me on social media or, you know, maybe at a networking or something, but I definitely hadn't met them before. And they said, "Are you famous?" And I was quite flattered, actually. I was like, that was amazing.
Did you say yes?
Yes, well, yes. You know, in Castle Donington, where I live, I'm very famous.
Well, you are.
Well, kind of. Maybe not for the right reasons.
And what does that say about that sort of brand recognition then? If they maybe seen you somewhere online and at least if nothing else, they felt like you were familiar.
Yeah. I think that breaks down barriers then. So I guess I become more approachable because they think they know me. A bit like if you saw a celebrity that you see loads on TV or hear on radio or, you know, like Davina McCall, like, you know, we saw her speak, didn't we? I felt like I knew Davina because I've seen her so much on TV and on social, and she's a really approachable, friendly person. I felt like if I'd had the chance, I know you had breakfast with her, so, you know, you trumped me on that one, but I felt like if I'd have seen her and I could have gone up to her and said hi and, you know, had a really nice conversation with her.
I think that's really interesting because if somebody is authentically themselves in front of camera or on their marketing and they meet somebody or they meet that person in real life and they're the same, I think that immediately cements that trust. When it's really different, that repels and makes it opposite.
And I think you've got to be yourself. And I think more than ever, it's okay to be yourself as long as, you know, it suits the audience. You're not going to be too, you know, sweary or, you know, controversial. But if that's what your audience need to hear, then, you know, that's up to you. It's a risk. But what I'd say is if you keep showing up as somebody else, you know, in the work environment and in the business environment, and then when people actually meet you, you're not that person, there's a disconnect. And you won't enjoy it if you're, you know, stood in front of the camera, suited and booted and trying to be really professional, and then they come and meet you and you're not like that. There's a disconnect. So be yourself as much as you can.
It's certainly not going to help you win that business if they go, "Oh, they're not who I thought they were."
Yeah. And actually, if people get to know you and, you know, you are being yourself and they don't like that, then really, do you want to work with them people? Do you want to do business with someone that says, "Well, you're a bit quirky, Paul, and I'm not sure about the long hair. You know, you're a bit out there"? Why would you want to work with somebody like that?
Do what I found that is such a great way to filter out people that you don't want to work with. So, you know, for example, you know, true story, the elders in my family who may be a bit more traditional, maybe worked in the banking sector for a long time, not so keen on the long hair, right? But actually, the people that I want to work with, it's not even a question. It's not even an issue.
No.
And I think that you can apply that logic to things like your sales proposals. You know, in our sales proposals, we have gifts in there. Do you know what? If you don't like a gift, we are not the right people.
You're not the right people. Yeah.
Things like that can be really helpful.
It's good to kind of qualify people in a way, isn't it? Because if they say, "Oh, you know, it was a good proposal, but I didn't like that bit." Well, that's part of it. That's your approach of values, your personality, and that you will work together well, particularly if you're in a service industry. You know, there's red flags there, isn't there? If they're already at that stage going, "Oh, that wasn't very serious. I didn't like that silly joke that you mentioned in there about." Sure, I remember that you put something in there, something that I'd referred to you, and it was "Everything we do it for you," the Brian Adams quote, and I loved that, and I knew that the client would get a kick out of that, you know. Whereas some people would be like,
What's with the Bryan Adams?
What's with the Bryan Adams? Who is Bryan Adams?
Who is Bryan Adams?
Maybe like they're below 30 and be like, who the hell's Bryan Adams?
Yeah, I am guilty of not using the right modern references. Yeah. No, that is interesting, and it does form part of that bigger picture then, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's nice.
Excellent. Well, look, I'm so pleased that you came and spoke to me. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Where can people find you? Everywhere.
Oh, well, yes, I am everywhere. Well, we've got a couple of webinars coming up. We do some stuff for the Chamber of Commerce. We got, in fact, I did my last champagne marketing webinar last week. Very well attended. Not going to be doing, not ever, but for the Chambers on this current program. Yeah. But we will be doing more. Sales workshop next Tuesday online. Going to be talking all about how to get more sales. So we do a bit of sales and marketing. Yeah, so that's probably the next time you can see me. But yeah,
but you're around.
I'm around.
Also, the suit and the bright colours. That's the thing to think of. Thank you, Lindsey.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.